Hey, everybody. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, all the grandmothers, all the aunts, all the foster mothers, and all the women who are still waiting to be mothers, and all the mothers who may not even have a living child right now. Um, this poem is for you. So, first of all, I haven't written a poem in probably about 5 years, and today I felt really moved with Mother's Day weekend being here to try to capture my journey in a poem with a Mother's Day theme to help encourage and inspire others who may be going through something similar, and then to inform people who may not be going through anything like this, or who may not have any experience going through it, but you know someone who is, so you can kind of identify with them a little more. So without further ado, I'm going to read it. Please forgive me in advance if I stumble or mess up, because I literally just wrote this poem and it looks really bad on paper. So I'm going to, like, if you can see that, this is what I'm going to be reading. So I'm going to be stumbling across all of that to try to get this to you, and I hope it accomplishes what I set it out to do. So the poem is entitled "The 5 Stages of Happy Mother's Day." Who knew 3 little words could have such a huge impact? Who knew hearing Happy Mother's Day would make it so difficult to keep my emotions intact? I still remember the first time these very words were directed towards me in a greeting. Instead of provoking me to celebration, the statement felt so defeating. As I checked out at the grocery store, register number 3, the cashier looked me in my eyes as he handed me my last bag and said, "Happy Mother's Day" to me. He had no idea that I had just been given the news that I wouldn't have a baby with no intervention on my own. Or although I was clearly old enough to have a child, I didn't have a child at home. He didn't know that my husband and I had been trying to conceive with no success for years. He didn't know that his friendly greeting almost had me at the grocery store in tears. He didn't know it took everything in me to look at him with a smile, say thank you, and remain calm. He didn't know how desperately I wanted to be a mom. The second time I received this greeting was after my dream had been snatched away by a thief. The person who thought they were recognizing me as a mother had no idea infertility and loss had taken me through the 5 stages of grief. Denial that I was infertile, anger that I couldn't get pregnant like all the others, bargaining with God and begging him to let me be a mother. Depressed because it wasn't happening for me and my life was not turning out as expected. Mad at God because I felt like my prayers had been rejected. And then finally realizing that I was not in control. Accepting my situation, realizing it was impossible for me to make it happen, as that was God's role. Then the third time I was greeted this way, it was by someone at church who said Happy Mother's Day to me while thinking about everything I had been through up to this point and taking that into consideration. She told me I'd one day be a good mother and just wanted to give me some inspiration. She knew my husband and I had been trying to conceive for years. She saw my eyes beginning to water. She saw the joyful tears. But by this time in my journey, my faith had been renewed. So when she acknowledged me as a mother, I accepted it as a sign, and that one day I'd hold my own baby, and that statement was my clue. The fourth time I was recognized for Mother's Day, I was almost 5 months pregnant with my son. Since I had already had a second trimester loss before, I wondered if I'd actually get to hold this one. They didn't know that it reminded me of the disappointment from the previous years. They didn't know I was still struggling with fear of losing another baby, and that was actually causing my tears. They didn't know it took everything in me to smile, say thank you, and remain calm. They didn't know I was waiting to actually hold my baby for the first time to label myself a mom. But on September 26, 2018, at 4:21 p.m., I delivered my son and didn't care that that moment didn't come sooner. I experienced an overwhelming, unexplainable love when I first laid eyes on Todd Jr. That following May was the 5th time. "Happy Mother's Day," my husband said to me as he looked me in my eyes. He hugged me and wiped my tears. There was no need to explain why I cried. In that moment, he knew all we had gone through for me to accept those 3 little words. Without me saying anything, I knew what I felt was heard. Who knew 3 little words could have such a huge impact? Who knew hearing Happy Mother's Day would make it so difficult for me to keep my emotions intact? Thanks for listening. I hope that if my story matches yours, that soon the emotions that you feel for wanting to be a mother will be filled with emotions of being thankful that you are a mother. And I'm going to say it now. Happy Mother's Day.